faithfully conveying value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally Talks Books. Today, the book we're interpreting for you is Wang Shifu's Zaju drama. For Chinese people, The Romance of the Western Chamber is a true classic. Classics usually mean many have heard of them, but few have actually read them. And its status as a classic isn't accidental. It reflects Chinese sociocultural traits and shapes a uniquely Chinese aesthetic paradigm. For over 7 centuries since its creation, it's been cherished by scholars across generations. Just the Ming and Qing editions alone number nearly 100, making it the classical drama with the most versions. Plus, it's been translated into Latin, English, French, German, Russian, Italian, Japanese, and more. Truly global influence. Beyond ongoing opera performances, over 10 film adaptations exist since 1927, with TV series in 1979 and 2013, plus a UA opera film in 2018. It's precisely this universal resonance across eras and nations that cements its classic status. When we say the romance of the Western Chamber today, we mean Wang Shifu's Yuan Dynasty play Ku Yingying Waits for the Moon in the Western Chamber, written around the late 13th to early 14th century, a Zaju drama, as the saying goes. Tang poetry, Psalm lyrics, Yuan drama, Ming Qing fiction. Yuan drama here refers to Sanquo poetry and Zaju plays. Sanquo lyrics matched popular northern tunes, while Zaju was folk opera, much like today's musical theater. Why is mixed? Because it blends song, dance, music, dialogue, and acrobatics. Characters use role types. Dan, male lead support, Jing, painted face warriors, villains, Chao, clowns. Zazu emerged in the late northern song, matured during the Yuan, and peaked then. After unifying China, the Yuan suspended imperial exams for 60 years. Han scholars, stuck at society's bottom, co-created with performers, fueling Zaju's boom in Dagu, now Beijing. Besides Wang Shifu's work, classics include Guan Han King's The Injustice to Doe, Ma Jiwan's Autumn in the Han Palace, and Ji Junsheng's The Orphan of Zhao. After the Yuan dynasty unified north and south, Yuan Zaju gradually spread to the Zhengnan region, later evolving into southern opera, dominated by southern folk tunes. After the Ming dynasty, Zaju declined and was gradually replaced by southern opera. Generally, one Yuan Zaju play is divided into 4 acts, with each act meaning one scene. The 4 acts correspond to 4 scenes structured around the narrative progression of introduction, development, climax, and resolution. Besides the 4 acts, there's a prologue serving as an introduction or plot transition. Usually one Zaju play equals 1 volume, though some works exceed a single volume. For instance, the complete Romance of the Western Chamber we're discussing has 5 volumes, each divided into 4 acts, totaling 20 acts. These 5 volumes are titled Zhang Junru Disturbs the Buddhist Ritual, Ku Yingying Listens to the Kin at Night, Zhang Junru Suffers Lovesickness, Zhang Junru Dreams of Yingying, and Zhang Junru Celebrates Reunion. These titles essentially summarize the entire story, reflecting the classic plot structure of Chinese scholar beauty dramas. A scholar and a young lady from an inner chamber meet by chance and develop mutual affection. However, their love faces obstacles from feudal ethics, family opposition, and social status until they finally overcome these barriers to unite. Of course, the complete story is far more complex. The story is set in turbulent northern China after the Anxi Rebellion, centering on a former prime minister's family. After Minister Quiju dies in Chang'an, his wife, Lady Zhang, travels with daughter Ying Ying, maid Hong Yang, and servant Han Long to escort his coffin to their Hebei homeland. Ying Yang was betrothed to Zheng Heng, Lady Zheng's nephew, but mourning rites prevented marriage after her father's death. Due to warfare, their journey faced constant disruptions. Compelled to stop temporarily in Hejiang Prefecture, they placed the coffin in Pujiu Temple. This Pujiu Temple was originally built by Minister Kui, and the family settled in a residence below the West Wing. Thus the story's setting. Here, it's necessary to explain why they resided in the West Wing. This relates to unique Chinese cultural concepts. Traditional architecture faces south, so when oriented south, left indicates east and right indicates west, opposite to modern directional conventions. Following the men left, women right principle, female family members typically resided in the West Wing on the right. Women of that era often appeared in west chambers, as in Li Qingjiao's verse, "When wild geese return, moonlight floods the west tower," while east chambers were reserved for men or family discussions. The east bed son-in-law tale refers to Wang Shizi lying bare-chested on an east bed, and in Sung Dynasty, there's the east window incident illusion. Here, east bed and east window denote male living quarters in Chinese courtyards, reflecting strict spatial hierarchy. So the sheer number of daily conduct rules is easy to imagine. This brings up the story's second key point. It happens in a temple. In an era of rigid feudal ethics, temples were rare places women could venture outside their chambers. In Romance of the Western Chamber, Kui Ying met Zhang Sheng while visiting the Buddha Hall with Hung Niang, and they fell in love instantly. Zhang Sheng, smitten with Yin Ying, moved into the temple. His residence was just a wall away from Yin Ying's West Wing. One night, as Yin Ying and Hung Yang burned incense in the garden, Zhang Sheng recited a poem over the wall. Moonlit warmth fills the night. Spring blooms in silent shade. When will the bright moon shine? I see no maiden in its glow. He meant, under this lovely moonlight, why can't I see my beloved? Yin Ying replied instantly with a poem. Long I've languished in my orchid chamber, passing spring days aimlessly. I trust the wandering poet pities the sighing soul. Meaning, I endure inner chamber loneliness. Through this poetic dialogue, their mutual affection grew. Now, the story shifts to Volume 2. Sun Feihu, who guarded the nearby river bridge, often plundered commoners' goods. Hearing that Kui Ying, daughter of the ex-minister, had breathtaking beauty and stayed at Puju Temple, he conceived evil plans. He thought, in this chaos, even generals act corruptly. Why should I hold back? He planned to capture Ying Ying as his wife, taking her home to fulfill a lifelong dream. So, he led 5,000 bandits to besiege Puju Temple. In desperation, the matriarch promised to wed Ying Ying to whoever could repel the bandits. Zhang Sheng happened to be friends with General Du Kui, commander of 100,000 troops, so he wrote for aid. While waiting, he played the kin at night to send messages, asking maid Hung Yang to subtly convey his feelings to Ying Ying. Later, Du Kui arrived and defeated Sun Feihu. The matriarch hosted a banquet to thank Zhang Sheng, who was thrilled. But when he asked when Ying Ying would be betrothed to him, the matriarch reneged, saying they should call each other siblings. She said, "You did save us, but Ying Ying was already promised to Zhang Heng. We can't break the engagement. So I'll give you gold and silk as thanks instead. How about finding a more suitable match elsewhere?" Hearing this, Zhang Sheng felt furious and defeated. Utterly helpless, he fell seriously ill. Though Ying Ying secretly cared for Zhang Sheng, propriety kept her reserved. Maid Hung Yang intervened, advising Zhang to play the chin under moonlight to attract Ying Ying and delivering his love letter. Ying Ying replied, "Wait beneath the west chamber moon, door ajar in the breeze. When flower shadows sway beyond the wall, my jade lover comes," secretly inviting Zhang for a midnight meeting, which he attended. But with Hong Yang present, Ying Ying feigned anger, scolding Zhang for impropriety. Confused and heartbroken, Zhang fell ill again. Later, Hong Yang visited Zhang, hinting Ying Ying would surely come that night. Hearing this, Zhang was overjoyed and instantly recovered. Late that night, Ying Ying came alone to Zhang's room, where they pledged lifelong commitment. When the matriarch discovered this, she furiously interrogated Hung Yang. But Hung Yang reasoned with her, finally convincing her to accept Zhang as Ying Ying's fiancé. However, she added a condition. Zhang must immediately take imperial exams. If he failed, a marriage would be canceled. After 6 months in the capital, Zhang topped the exams as Zhuangyan, top scholar. He eagerly sent word asking about the wedding, but complications arose. Zheng Hang, her original fiancé, came demanding marriage. Learning Ying Ying was now promised to another, he exclaimed, "Why was our engagement broken? How is this justified?" That Hung Yang boldly countered, "When Sun Fei Hu attacked, where were you? Without Zhang's help, none of us would be here. Had Ying Ying been kidnapped then, how could you have claimed her?" Yet Zheng Heng persisted. She claimed, "In the capital, Zhan was chosen by Minister Wei's daughter in a bridal ball throwing ceremony. They're engaged, causing a citywide stir." Hearing this, the matriarch raged, believing Zhan had betrayed their trust. Meanwhile, Zhang, unaware, after becoming Heizhan prefect, rushed to Puju Temple only to face the matriarch's scolding. Hung Ying mocked him. "How's your new bride?" Panicking, Zhang defended himself. "I never married any minister's daughter. May I break out in sores if lying? My love for Ying Ying remains unchanged. Heaven is my witness." Later, Xing Heng was summoned. After confrontation, the misunderstanding was cleared up and the truth came out. It was Xing Heng who deliberately spread the rumor. Zheng Heng, knowing he was in the wrong, voluntarily withdrew from the engagement. Zhang Sheng and Ying Ying were finally reunited. In a way, Long Shifu's Romance of the Western Chamber is a comedy where Zhang Sheng and Kuri Ying Ying finally marry smoothly. True lovers become a couple, all thanks to a series of highly improbable coincidences. First, Zhang Sheng stayed at the Zhuangyuan Inn in the city, then went to Pujiu Temple, a scenic spot to relax, where he accidentally met Kui Ying Ying. Next, Sun Feihu besieged Pujiu Temple. Coincidentally, Zhang Shan's friend Du Kuei was a general who successfully rescued them. Then, the matriarch reneged on the marriage, threatening Zhang Sheng with becoming the top scholar, and he coincidentally did achieve it. Finally, Zhang Sheng eagerly prepared to marry Ying Ying, but encountered Zhang Heng, to whom she was originally betrothed. Amid the unresolved dispute, Zhang Sheng was coincidentally appointed as the highest official in Heizhong Prefecture to resolve the issue. The scholar and beauty had a grand reunion. The author deliberately set up these coincidences to resolve conflicts, settle suspense, and bring the scholar and beauty together. And this is precisely why Romance of the Western Chamber was so popular among ancient Chinese. American educator John Dewey once said that the most valuable aspect of drama is not strictly artistic, but lies in its moral emotions. Classical opera, based on ancient stories and traditions, is more dramatic and thrilling. Specifically, it was in the special social and cultural atmosphere of ancient China, where unmarried men and women were strictly constrained, that stories like Romance of the Western Chamber resonated strongly. In ancient Chinese Confucian society, marriage was based on family principles. Without parental consent and matchmakers, private love between men and women was forbidden, and love was not a necessary condition for marriage. Starting from the peacock flies southeast and the butterfly lover's legend, an enduring theme in Chinese literature is two people truly in love but unable to conform to the marriage customs of the time. This conflict between spontaneous love and the marriage system under feudal ethics was common in traditional Chinese society, most likely to attract attention and stir emotions. On the other hand, Although Romance of the Western Chamber has been seen as celebrating young people's longing for love and breaking through feudal ethics, but it's undeniable that Zhang Sheng and Ying Ying's reunion is not a victory of love, but precisely a victory of power and feudal ethics. Fundamentally, it was Zhang Sheng's rising status that achieved their marriage. Though Zhang's father was a minister of rites, after his parents' death, he wandered destitute, unsuccessful in exams. His status was now diminished. Sheng Heng bluntly called him a poor sour vinegar, meaning a pitiful failure. To the matriarch and Zheng Heng, without matching status, Zhang couldn't marry Kui Yingying until he topped the exams and secured official rank. Only when Zhang's new status matched the prime minister's daughter did barriers fall, leading to their, joyful reunion. This true lovers united ending won popular favor. Notably, this scholar beauty reunion template profoundly influenced later works. Romance of the Western Chamber established this literary pattern. Post-Western Chamber, Min-Qing eras saw many tales of secret lovers overcoming parental opposition through exam success. Vernacular story collections like Three Words and Two Slaps feature this, e.g., Wu Yane's Boat Rendezvous, where scholar Wu meets Miss He. Parents raged initially, but after Wu passed the imperial exam, obstacles vanished. The couple bowed and the family celebrated. As a classic, Western Chamber both reflected societal psychology and inspired countless imitations. Beyond its moral emotions, Western Chamber remains classic after 700 plus years, largely due to literary charm, especially linguistic beauty. Wang Shifu wove classical poetry into Western Chamber, creating phrases still used in modern Chinese, like Zhang's first sight of Ying Ying. When Zhang first saw Ying Ying, he couldn't forget that glance when she turned to leave, later praised by Ming critic Xu Shifan. In his annotated edition, Xu noted, "The autumn glance line is Western Chamber's vital essence, its most distilled moment." When Ying Ying first glanced at Zhang, her gaze conveyed budding affection. Written with perfect subtlety and timing, Jing Ying has feelings for Zhang Sheng and wants to express them. But as the prime minister's daughter, she must do it subtly. That glance, when she turned to leave, already made Zhang Sheng sense something. After Ying Ying left, Zhang Sheng turned back and savored the meaning of that glance, thus sparking their romance. Without that autumn glance line, the love story in Romance of the Western Chamber couldn't progress. Even today, modern Chinese still uses the phrase autumn glance turn. Another example, Zhang Sheng, lovesick, said, "Having a heart is worse than heartlessness. Being affectionate is troubled by indifference." This parallel couplet reads smoothly and excellently captures the subtle psychology of lovesickness. Later, it was recited for ages, like flowers fall, water flows red, myriad idle sorrows, silently blaming the east wind. This is Ying Ying's aria in the first volume, lamenting wasted youth. Loneliness and solitude are all in this idle sorrow and silence. Later, Tang Shanzu of the Ming Dynasty wrote in The Peony Pavilion, where the heroine Du Linyang lamented while touring the garden. "So many brilliant blooms have blossomed, yet left to ruins and broken walls. Fine days and beautiful scenes, why heaven, pleasant joys in whose courtyard." Lin Yang sighs that youth is uncherished. Sadness and loss arise spontaneously. This mood inherits the scenes from Romance of the Western Chamber. Of course, the most famous line in Romance of the Western Chamber is lamenting that true men and women in this world find it hard to be soulmates. May all lovers under heaven become couples. The latter half of this line is probably known to everyone in China. It can be said that this beautiful vision still resonates powerfully today. Moreover, Romance of the Western Chamber embodies a special understanding of beauty among Chinese people. In the Ming Dynasty, Someone wrote in the preface to Romance of the Western Chamber, generally, what makes color appealing is not necessarily its closeness. As for appearance, it's through attire that elegance and vulgarity are distinguished. That is to say, in Chinese eyes, beauty isn't all about appearance. It's not even the most important. What matters is how one's spirit shines through gestures and demeanor. Even clothing can reveal elegance or vulgarity. This differs sharply from Western aesthetics that focus on physique, muscles, golden ratio, etc., which emphasize tangible entities like muscles and geometric proportions, while Chinese perceptions of beauty lie in the invisible. So called spirit, energy, and essence are a kind of charm, something hard to depict, even expressed through impressionistic brushwork, for instance. When describing Yin Ying's beauty, it doesn't directly depict her appearance or figure, but uses indirect accounts. For example, when Zhang Sheng first saw Yin Ying, he found her stunningly beautiful and radiant. Even a temple monk was so captivated by her beauty that, while striking the wooden fish, he accidentally hit someone's head. In fact, many elegant phrases and imagery in Romance of the Western Chamber trace back to China's enduring classical culture. For instance, the autumn glance um, phrase appeared nearly 300 years earlier when Southern Tang's last ruler, Li Yu, wrote, "Autumn glances flow horizontally," while "affectionate but troubled by indifference" directly adapts Su Shi's verse. Su Shi's original line in Butterfly Loves Flowers is, "Laughter fades, voices hush. The affectionate is troubled by the indifferent." Such examples of inheritance and evolution in classical literature abound. Beyond language, the transformation of literary themes and story archetypes is common. The earliest source of Romance of the Western Chamber is Yuan Zhen's Tang Dynasty tale, The Story of Ying Ying. Originally a tragedy, in The Story of Ying Ying, Jiang Sheng leaves for imperial exams and never returns, later marrying another, essentially abandoning Kui Yingying after seducing her. Wang Shifu adapted this tale into Romance of the Western Chamber, keeping the framework but making substantial thematic changes, raising Yingying's age from 17 to 19, altering bandits' motives from plunder to seizing Yingying, etc. But the most significant changes are twofold. First, Wang Shifu's adaptation intensified the love theme between Jiang Sheng and Yin Yin. For example, in the original tale, Zhang Sheng sought Duclay's protection for Puju Temple, not for Yin Ying. Lady Zhang, grateful for their lives being saved, then asked Ying Ying to greet Jiang Shen. And in Romance of the Western Chamber, Zhang Sheng's rescue motive was simple, for Ying Ying, hoping the matriarch would betroth her to him. Additionally, in The Story of Ying Ying, Zhang Sheng lodged directly at Puju Temple. In Wang Shifu's version, Zhang Sheng initially stayed at the Zhuangyuan Inn in town, visited Puju Temple to relax, encountered Ying Ying by chance, became infatuated, then moved to the temple to pursue her. Through Wang Shifu's rewriting, love became a theme present from the beginning and sustained throughout. Another key change: in the original, Kui and Zhang were cousins. In Romance of the Western Chamber, they became a poor scholar and noble lady, making this cross-class love more emotionally powerful. Moreover, and more importantly, the ending of the Story of Ying Ying is a tragedy. Jiang Sheng went to the capital for exams and never returned. The two couldn't be together. In Romance of the Western Chamber, Zhang Sheng and Ying Ying have a happy ending. True lovers become a couple. So the story shifts from tragedy to comedy, and the criticism turns from social rules to parents, feudal ethical system. This change stems from the social system differences in the Yuan dynasty where Wang Shifu lived, compared to the Tang dynasty, as in The Story of Ying Ying. Superficially, They couldn't be together because Zhang Sheng abandoned her after seducing her. But the root cause is the special social rules of the Tang dynasty. Under the aristocratic system since the Wei, Jin, and northern southern dynasties, scholars needed not only to pass exams, but also to marry into noble families to enter officialdom smoothly. So, relying on the support of powerful families, high officials also selected new scholars as sons in law for future political investments. Um, and according to these social rules, a young man could indulge in love freely when young. But once on the path to imperial exams to gain an official position, he must decisively cut ties with women from noble backgrounds. Only after marriage could he honor his ancestors and achieve success. This was the rite of passage for men of that era. The root tragedy in the story of Ying Ying is the intense conflict between social rules and personal emotions. However, in Romance of the Western Chamber, Wang Shifu greatly weakened this tragic element. But in the play, we don't see Shang Sheng's pain of wanting Ying Ying but being unable to have her. On the contrary, from the moment he saw Ying Ying, he steadfastly wanted to marry her. The obstacle was the matriarch. Such parents and rivals like Zheng Heng, who had a prior marriage agreement. Moreover, the confrontation with social rules vanished. It ended with Zhang Sheng topping the exams to break class barriers and the couple reuniting. This indicates that in the Yuan dynasty, when Wang Shifu wrote Romance of the Western Chamber, the social environment was completely different. It was a time of relatively relaxed ethics under foreign rule. And so, after the Anxi Rebellion, the aristocratic system had long collapsed and the nobility lost political power. With the strengthening of Neo-Confucianism in the Song dynasty and the revival of feudal ethics, parents' role in marriage arrangements was reinforced, and the imperial exam system's importance was further highlighted. Zhang Sheng achieved class mobility through imperial exams, thus gaining the qualification to marry Ying Ying. Moreover, the difference in their endings is also constrained by the form of the texts. The story of Ying Ying is a Tang dynasty tale for elite literati, but Yuan's Romance of the Western Chamber as Zaju catered to public tastes. Its happy ending reflects collective consciousness common in traditional Chinese opera. This evolution is evident in Hui Yingying's portrayal, revealing different eras' female cultures. American sinologist Valerie Hansen said in The Open Empire, later playwrights rewrote Zhang Yingying's legend to fit contemporary views on women. Tang women didn't bind feet, but Yuan-era Wang Shifu portrayed Yingying with bound feet. The play describes her hiding feet, struggling in tiny shoes, barely half a hairpin's length, under 3 inches. In Yingying's mid-Tang era, sea poetry wasn't widespread and was considered vulgar. But the matriarch proudly claims Yingying excels at needlework, poetry, letters, and arithmetic. Thus, though set in Tang, Wang Shifu's Yingying embodies Yuan's social values. Zhang and Yingying represent Yuan's ideal scholar-beauty couple. That's precisely why Romance in the Western Chamber was so warmly received. As they said, among new Zaju plays and old tales, Western Chamber reigns supreme. Without exaggeration, it's Ming-King's most influential drama classic, captivating readers and profoundly shaping later literature, especially theater and novels. Late Ming's Jinping Mei quotes it extensively, e.g., chapter 21, when Lady Yue says during a drinking game, "Since I must set the rule, we'll drink by the card manual." One card name, 2 ancient card names, and 1 line from Western Chamber. Southern opera, the Peony Pavilion, was also influenced by it. Tang Shanzu explicitly wrote that Du Linyang read it and was moved by Kui Zhang's romance. Indeed, Peony Pavilion mirrors its structure, characters, conflicts, and happy ending. Cao Shuiqin deeply studied it, and it greatly influenced Dream of the Red Chamber. A direct example is in chapter 23 of the novel where Boyu and Dayu read Romance of the Western Chamber together. Boyu quotes it, comparing himself to the lovesick Zhang Sheng and Dayu to the breathtaking Krian Ying. So Dayu angrily says, "She's brought these romantic verses here to bully me with such nonsense." And undoubtedly, the play catalyzed their emotional development, and readers adore this scene. China's first Dream of the Red Chamber stamp set featured this scene of the two jades reading together. Qing Dynasty opera obsession led to day-night performances, causing negative effects that prompted bans, including this play for depicting illicit romance. That's why Dayu panicked when caught reading it, and why she later read it with Bayu secretly. Jin Shengtan ranked it among China's 6 genius works alongside Li Sao and Water Margin. Supreme praise. Yet, he saw Zhang Yangying's affair less as beautiful love than as feminine impropriety. Traditionally, Yingying developing feelings during her father's mourning and sleeping with Zhang without parental consent was unforgivable. Only recently has it been reinterpreted as pure love rebelling against feudalism, cementing its classic status. Post-May 4th movement, free love became deeply ingrained. Thus, modern readers dismiss so-called improprieties, believing true love justifies all. In this light, Ying Ying's devotion and even Hong Yong's defiance are celebrated. Each era projects its values onto the play, treating Zhang and Ying Ying as contemporaries rather than Tang figures. Truly, only through constant reinterpretation can a story endure and achieve timeless classic beauty. That concludes our interpretation of Wang Shifu's Zaju drama. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.